Frederick Douglass has a quote that once you learn to read, you will forever be free. And that was really important to me because growing up, I was comfortable, but I didn't have a whole lot of resources to travel and go different places, but I always had books. And once I was able to travel to some of those different places that I read about and experience some of those things, it was almost like deja vu. I I had a connection to them already. I had a point of reference, and that's really important for students now because a lot of our kids don't read because they don't see where the point of reference is going to come or where the connection is going to come. So it's really important that we push reading and literacy. I've always been a good student, and I've always liked to read. But my love of reading came when I had a seventh grade teacher who handed me Black Boy by Richard Wright. She knew that I could read, and I read different things, but I didn't see myself in a lot of the things I read. Once I was able to see myself, it kind of opened up my love for reading even more. I was able to read and I could read well, but I don't know if the love of reading was there. And it's really important now. Even with the books that I have behind me, I make sure that our kids, regardless of their background or their culture, that they can see themselves in reading because that helps them develop that love of reading, which in turn helps them be better readers. The more you read, it's just like playing basketball. The more you do something, the better you become at it. So, but I'm not going to do it if it's not something I love or it's not something where I see myself in it. So it's really important that we push that. And as an educator, I've always, just from my seventh grade teacher, Miss Watson, I learned that, and I've pushed that as an educator myself. It's really hard for a child that doesn't transition from learning to read to learn, which should be the transition in fourth or fifth grade, because they are starting to get informational text. They are starting to get um, different texts where they have to use inference, and they're still learning to read. So it makes it really hard for those students. Um, and sometimes our teachers and our curriculum doesn't put anything in place for that child. So it's really, really important that we identify that child and that we help them transition from that um, reading to learn piece. Education is a team sport. It takes churches, it takes any kind of schools, it takes communities, it takes parents, it takes extended family, because like I said, it might be a teacher that gives that kid the hook that makes them develop a love for reading. It may be a coach. It may be, somebody down the street that just happens to have a book box in front of their house. So, it's one of those things. So that's all of our responsibility. It takes a village. And I know people hear that all the time, but that's a true statement. It takes a village. And I think, that's it. It's a team sport. Sentence is a very, very powerful documentary. Um, it puts a face with the issue of adult illiteracy. Um, the people that um, are focused, the focus of the documentary are very bright, which sometimes people don't understand that illiteracy doesn't have to do with your IQ. It has to do with exposure. It has to do with opportunity, and you get to see that, and you get to understand that. And it puts a face with that, and it makes you want to help. Especially as an educator, it makes you want to help because um, those the people that are in that remind you of some of my parents. It reminds me of some of the kids that I have, and it makes me ask myself the question: what can I do to make sure that doesn't happen with the people that I can control, in the environment I can control? So it's a very strong documentary, very powerful, and I would suggest anybody go see that.